Sleep is abundant, there is vitality and health. So just some facts about sleep in general. Americans are sleeping about 2 hours less each night than they did a century ago. So we are definitely not making sleep a priority like we did before. Now remember too, like a century ago, we were mostly sleeping because of the sun. The sun was our guide and we were sleeping sunrise to sunset type of thing. Or I should say sunset to sunrise, more because we were a farming culture. People are staying up a lot later, they're getting up a lot earlier. So we are chronically sleep deprived as a nation. 1/3 of the US adults sleep fewer than the recommended 7 hours a day. By show of hands, who sleeps less than 7 hours a day in this room? And how many of you guys are feeling tired all the time, waking up, fighting the alarm clock? Absolutely. So we do want to stick to that 6.5 to 8 hours, generally around 7 hours is the ultimate time for sleep for an adult. 40% of us adults do report feeling drowsy during the daytime, and likely we can trace that back to the fact that we're not sleeping that 7 hours a day. So what happens when we're sleeping? Sleep is not passive. Sleep is a very important part of our day, and most of us take it for granted. When we are sleeping, that's when our body goes through checks and balances. It's flushing out those toxins, and it's storing our memories. It's deciding what's good for us and what's bad for us. What don't we need, what do we need? It's also when we are doing our metabolizing. It's when we're processing emotions, and it's kind of our overnight therapy. That's especially important in our dreams. That's when we kind of just process the consciousness and the subconsciousness and sort of work out those details of what's important and what's not important. So, when people have sleep disorders, there are literally 800 classifiable sleep disorders. Yeah, 800. It's a lot. What are the more common types of sleep disorders? Sleep apnea, insomnia, REM behavior disorder, narcolepsy, restless legs disorder. So with sleep apnea, and that's very common, that's a breathing disorder, a sleep disordered breathing disorder. That's often associated with loud snoring, pauses or changes in the breathing at nighttime. Oftentimes people with sleep apnea will complain that they don't feel well rested even if they've spent 7 to 8 hours a night. That's kind of that classic Homer Simpson style of sleep with the loud snore and then the big pause. What happens to your body when you have those types of episodes though is that your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases, and your oxygen levels die. When you're depriving your body of oxygen, you're putting a lot of stress on your heart and a lot of stress on your brain, and that puts you at a greater risk for heart attack and stroke. It also increases your daytime blood pressure, so a lot of people who have blood pressure during the day, uncontrolled blood pressure during the day, we attribute that to sleep apnea at nighttime, untreated sleep apnea at nighttime. Insomnia, we talked a little bit about insomnia at the beginning of the slide. Primary and secondary insomnia, acute and chronic insomnia. So primary insomnia or secondary insomnia oftentimes is attributed to, or transient insomnia can sometimes be attributed to, I just started a new medication and it's making me feel like I can't sleep. Usually that side effect goes away after you get used to using that medication. Sometimes it's because you've got something on your mind and you can't seem to get that off of your mind, and so that's keeping you up at nighttime. When we're looking at acute or chronic insomnia, acute means it only lasts for a little bit of time, a couple weeks, and then it goes away. Chronic means that it's been lasting for more than a month or longer, and that you're not able to get over this. When we get to problems with acute insomnia, it's time to see a sleep specialist. What I always recommend for patients who are experiencing acute insomnia is that you start keeping a sleep journal, a little notebook by your bedside table, and especially with patients who are complaining of racing thoughts. So I've got these stupid racing thoughts in my head, and I just can't seem to get them out. Write that stuff down, and then close the book. You wrote it down, it's already off of your plate, you can't worry about it, you're not going to solve it at 3 a.m. anyways. And then pick that back up in the morning. That usually helps people kind of put that thought to rest or that issue to rest, and then you can pick that thought back up in the morning. Now, what is REM behavior disorder? REM behavior disorder is your body's inability, or I should say, its ability to act out your dreams. So when we have our REM sleep, that 25% of the night where we're dreaming, you're supposed to have muscle atonia. You're not supposed to be able to feel or move. You should be pretty much paralyzed during that stage of sleep. But in some cases, you are not. And some people can actually act out their dreams, punching, kicking, kind of fighting scenes. We often see this in patients with Parkinson's disease, older gentlemen who have been veterans, actually. This affects a lot of veterans, where this can become severe enough where they're injuring themselves or injuring their bed partner. So this is something we would do a sleep study for someone who has REM behavior disorder, and then we would actually treat this with some medications that help to paralyze the person during their REM sleep. Very easy to treat, but it can be very scary because oftentimes they're finding themselves becoming injured or injuring their spouse. Now, narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a sleep disorder, but it's also a neurological disorder where the body doesn't know the difference between wakefulness and sleepiness when it's supposed to be awake and when it's supposed to be asleep. So you'll have these onset or these episodes of sleepiness during the day. And you'll see that classic patients falling asleep in their bowls of cereal and things like that. But it's basically where your body doesn't know that it's okay to be awake and asleep, and patients will fall asleep unintentionally driving vehicles, during class, during work at their computer, things like that. And then the last one is restless leg syndrome. And although this isn't necessarily a disorder of sleep, it's actually a disorder of wake. It is the sensation, usually about 2 hours or so before bedtime, of a creepy, crawly sensation in your legs. Pins and needles kind of sensation, or an achy issue in the legs where it kind of feels like you've got like a tingly sensation. And oftentimes it's alleviated by shaking your legs or walking it off. But this will affect you as you're trying to go to sleep because your legs are jumping around the bed, feeling very uncomfortable, very just not able to fall asleep because of the restless leg issue. So we consider this a sleep disorder because once we treat it, you sleep a lot better. Parasomnia, we talked a little bit about this. This is nightmares, night terrors, sleepwalking, sleep paralysis, or bruxism. I know I was talking to Chris earlier, and she's a teeth grinder. I said, that's actually a sleep disorder. That's when you grind your teeth at nighttime. So what are some things we can do during the day and during our bedtime routine to help us sleep better at nighttime? This is what we call sleep hygiene. We all know about personal hygiene, wearing deodorant and brushing our teeth and all of that, but sleep hygiene is also something that we need to be working on. So what do? We work out wisely. We were talking earlier talking with Kelsey about doing some workout at our desk and keeping our muscles loose and getting up and walking our 10,000 steps and whatnot. But with sleep and working out, we want to make sure that we're not working out 3 hours prior to bedtime. And the reason we want to do that is we want our blood pressure to be low before bedtime. If you're working out 3 hours prior to bedtime, that blood pressure is still running a little bit high, and that heart rate is still running a little bit high. So if bedtime for you is normally about 10 p.m., you want to cut your workout off around 7:30 at nighttime so that your body has its time to reach back to baseline. We also want to make sure that we're eating right at nighttime. We want to make sure that we're not eating a spicy bowl of chili at 9:30 when we're getting ready to go to bed at 10 o'clock. For obvious reasons, reflux and GERD, but also because you don't want to be digesting such a heavy meal at nighttime when you're trying to go to sleep. You want to be rethinking what you're drinking at nighttime. Let's not be drinking a pot of coffee at 9 o'clock when we're trying to go to bed at 10. I know a lot of people say caffeine doesn't affect me. I can fall asleep after I drink coffee. But you don't know what your brain waves look like, you guys. Your brain waves are going crazy when you drink that much caffeine. We really want to cut our caffeine intake out about 5 hours prior to bedtime. So if your bedtime is 10 o'clock, by 5 o'clock, you really want to be cutting out that caffeine because you're throwing so much delta into your sleep, so much large brainwave activity into your sleep that it really is disruptive. It's going to cause you to feel like you're falling asleep right away, but you're not going to maintain sleep because of all of that caffeine that's coming through. We want to lower the lights, and this is kind of obvious, but sleeping in a darkened room, sleeping in a cool room, sleeping in a quiet room is also very important. And I'm talking about the TV, I'm talking about the tablet, I'm talking about your cell phone. Those are all no-nos in the bedroom. I know it's a very bad habit. We're all sleeping with our junk in the bed. Get it out of there. Get your cell phone out, get your TV out, get your tablet out of bed. I promise you, within a few days after you go through the withdrawal symptoms, you will be sleeping better. That blue light is terrible for sleep. Same thing with tobacco use. Those of us who are smokers, you really should try to have that last cigarette about 2 to 3 hours prior to bedtime. Sleeping pills is another thing. A lot of us use sleeping pills to sleep, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with sleeping pills as long as they're being monitored by a physician. If you're using the occasional over-the-counter sleeping pill, let's use the word occasional. If you are using them more than 3 to 4 days a week, that is no longer considered occasional use, and you need to really see a sleep professional to find out what's going on. And then lastly, if these tips aren't working or you think that you've got something else going on, it is time to see your primary care physician or your sleep physician. So if you need to see a sleep physician and you want to come in and have a sleep study, this is what we call a polysomnogram. So a polysomnogram is an overnight sleep study. And what we do is my technicians will place monitors on your body. Little sensors, head and face, legs and chest, and these monitor all aspects of your sleep and your breathing. We're going to monitor your brain activity, your heart rate, your oxygen levels, as well as your muscle activity to give us an idea of what happens while you're sleeping. We also do these at home, what we call a home sleep study. Now the home sleep study is really only designed to measure or monitor for sleep disordered breathing, for sleep apnea. We don't use home sleep studies to measure for insomnia, for restless legs, for REM behavior, anything like that. We focus only on the breathing aspect of it. But the home sleep studies are a lot less expensive tool to monitor for obstructive sleep apnea, and they're very non-invasive because you pick it up in the sleep lab, you meet with the technician, we show you how to use it, it's about a 15-minute visit, and then you take it home, you wear it, and return it to us the following day. So the sleep center where I work at Aurora Lakeland Medical Center, we are an accredited center. We have 4 beds. I have fully staffed. We're open Sundays through Friday nights. This is a little picture of what it looks like. That's my desk right there. This is what the bedrooms look like. They're set up like hotel rooms. So you've got your own bedroom, your own bathroom, television set in there, and then here's one of the bathrooms. And then we set you up separately from the bedroom in the little hookup room. So we keep the process of the hookup very separate from the bedroom to keep it very home-like. We don't want you to feel like you're in the hospital and you're being monitored and it's creepy. It's really not. It's really very nice and easygoing. Usually takes about a week or 2 to get your sleep lab results back to you. And then what happens is if you do have a sleep disorder, such as sleep apnea, we get you set up with a sleep physician. We get you set up with CPAP, the treatment for sleep apnea, which is a mask that folks wear. If we find that you have insomnia, we get you set up to see the sleep doctor, either get you on a course of medication or see a sleep, we have like sleep therapists that you can talk to about your sleep insomnia as well. So some of the most important messages that I spoke about today. Adequate sleep is important to your physical and mental health. If you suspect that you have a sleep disorder, please talk to your doctor about this. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's really important that we get good sleep. We do our sleep studies at the Aurora Lakeland Medical Center, and my sleep center is accredited by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Thank you.
Right, our next speaker is Dan DeSlover. I knew I was going to say it wrong. DeSlover of Mercy Health. He's a behavioral health employee assistant. Dan provides a service a wide range of concerns such as workplace difficulty, couple issues, substance use, and mood concerns. He uses cognitive behavior therapy, solution-focused therapy, motivative interviewing, and family therapy. Let's welcome Dan.
Thank you for inviting me in this morning. It's nice to be here. It's such a lovely facility. So my first question is, who's not stressed? Okay. We have one. Okay, come on up. You can teach it. Thanks. Well, my hope here today is that there will be an item or two that you'll be able to find useful in your own life or for working with your employees. Today's presentation is kind of structured along those 2 lines. Stress management strategies for you and those for your employees. So why focus on stress? You've seen it in the work site, right? Morale goes down, attitude goes down, people skip work, they come in late, they leave early, it affects morale. It's not fun when you're in a manager role and you see employees stressed because it affects the team culture. Okay, so here's our agenda today. I'm only going to spend a little bit about what is the cause of stress, because that's just not a lot of fun, and instead focus more on what to do about it. So what is stress? It's a general activation to a perceived threat. The key word there is perceived threat, right? Because there aren't a lot of physical dangers for us anymore on the work site. It's more about psychological threats. Too much work, conflict with coworkers, things of those natures. Another common definition is the second one here, mismatch between perceived threat and one's ability to handle that threat. When you or your employees feel like you can handle what's coming your way, your stress level goes down. So if you're in a manager role, one thing that you'd want to do is bolster your employees' ability to feel competent in their work performance. Here's what employees complain about, and this is replicated in some of the literature, as causing too much stress for them at work. Long hours, increased workload. Seems that that's the case everywhere, isn't it? Conflict with coworkers, that's never fun. Management style, managers that are unavailable or unresponsive to employee concerns, limited growth opportunities, and financial compensation. A lot of stress at the work site is also caused by kind of a spillover from people's personal lives. That's what I see in employee assistance, and when I worked in behavioral health, is the majority of people who see counseling or EAP don't do it so much for the work stress, but for things that are going on in their life. Marital strain, financial problems, issues with their children, adult children failing to launch, kids with substance abuse problems, deaths, and grief issues. Okay, so let's focus on kind of the opposite about what to do about stress. If you can, decrease the sense of time pressure. Feeling like you don't have enough time to do my job increases stress. And here are some ways to do that. Forget multitasking. We don't do that well. It increases our stress when we shift from item to item to item to item. It's better off to think, one thing at a time. Okay, I'll do this for a while, and then when I'm done with that, then I'll do the next thing for a while. More linear rather than lateral. Time sense is having a sense of how much time it takes to complete a project, right, and estimating that. Most people do that pretty well. Some people struggle with that. And so for those folks, they just have to kind of add on a little extra time to their estimation. Time planning has to do with figuring out what are your best times of the day to work to do those important projects. Is it early morning for you, like it is for me, or is it mid-afternoon, or is it evening time? Figuring out what's the best time for you. Prioritizing is figuring out what you need to do during the day versus what you don't have to get done but would be nice to get done. Focusing on what you need to do. For leaders, that also includes spending time daily on your long-term vision, on your goal planning for your organization. Not only what you need to do, but how you see the organization moving forward. Standard shifting is related to accepting that things don't have to be perfect, that they can be good enough. Right? That work is usually acceptable, doing a good job is important, but perfection is a time killer. Delegating is shifting responsibility, obviously, and that's a challenge for some people because it challenges their perfectionism. Right? So delegating helps you prioritize your time, and decreasing procrastination. Anybody in here struggle with that? Feeling overwhelmed, pushing it off. Procrastination is reinforcing avoidance, right, by not challenging and taking on the work. One other thing here, too, about working smarter that we could include would be the self-talk a person uses, like how catastrophizing does a person think about a particular work project. Demagnifying that. Okay, working with others. I see in employee assistance this issue come to my office as an issue on the work site for many people, and that's getting along with others. Feeling confident in your ability to negotiate differences to manage conflict is super helpful for decreasing stress, right? Because then not only are you managing your work tasks, but you're feeling like you can manage your work relationships. Being able to disagree and to push back and to negotiate healthy, positive outcomes is super helpful for decreasing stress. And these are just some of the skills here that are taught when you see a behavioral health counselor like myself or an EAP counselor. How to accept criticism. Guess what the solution is there? Yes, it's a strategy. Accept. Yeah, I know, right? It's a lot better. It's a lot better than defensiveness. One of the strategies there is to accept it and to point out how the person is correct. Right? Because when you can identify how the person is correct in their feedback, you might disagree with 90% of it, but the part that you agree with, you repeat to the person. They feel heard. It's a learning opportunity. Criticism is perceived in a positive way. And some of the other skills here as well. Saying no, disagreeing, and giving feedback. I'll just comment on one more of these here, and that's on the disagreeing skill, because it's super helpful and it works in most settings, whether you're at work, home, or other places. The disagreeing, and this one everybody gets backwards, but it's a sequential. Disagree first with somebody. Like, I see it this way, but then you end on how you agree with the person, right? Because when I agree with you, then that person feels heard, their defenses come down, and they're stuck agreeing what you have to say. I do that all the time too in clinical practice with clients. I have to disagree with things, and so I'll disagree, but then I'll point out how they're right in there. Because you have to be, as long as you're genuine and legitimate about it, you can't be fake or false about it. So that's a disagreeing skill. So having good conflict management skills decreases stress. And working to stay calm. You all have better ideas than I did. The exercises this morning were fantastic for physical relaxation and decreasing stress. You can probably think of examples in your own life when you were faced with a stressor and you decided to view it as a challenge, as an opportunity, as a growth opportunity, and that marshaled your ability to handle that situation. I'm just going to share with you one model. It's not the best model out there. It's what's often used in the psychotherapy field. Nobody in here is an emotion researcher, right? Okay, all right. This is one of the first models. It's one that's often taught in psychotherapy. And it's just the ABC model from Albert Ellis, a psychologist, talking about A is what happens to you, B is how you think about it, C is how you feel. Right? The ABC model. It's simplistic, but it's kind of helpful and keeps us back to the basics. In terms of our outlook, the cognitive piece of managing stress, here are some common thinking errors, right, that we all do. Demanding that you do a perfect job, or demanding that a person be liked by coworkers, be approved, that sort of thing, rather than preferring it, wanting it, but accepting that it's not always the case. Magnifying, making problems and stressors a mountain rather than a molehill to overcome. Anybody guilty of that? I know I certainly have been. Personalizing. Wait a second. It must be due to me, right? Taking it personal when somebody has a negative reaction rather than their own experience, their history, what's going on in their life. Negative predicting. Seeing problems, seeing them never ending, creating a bunch of catastrophic scenarios in one's mind that could go wrong. The antidote to this is problem solving, positive thinking, when it's based in evidence, putting up with not knowing how things are going to go, rather than kind of getting stuck on the negatives. We're doing some problem solving. Oh, well, global evaluation. It's a nice fancy way to say put downs towards oneself or others. And for employees, addressing the spillover effect from their life, right? That's what people see counselors, that's why they see EAP, is because then we can talk about why helping somebody adjust through a divorce, improve a couple's relationship, help figuring out how to handle what's going on with the children, addressing mood issues, depression, anxiety, substance use, etc. All right. On the other side now, what can managers do? How many in here are managers, directors, CEOs, that kind of thing? Okay, yeah, so a large number of you. I was thinking that would be the case. So I included some material here for managers, and this is based on information from the literature about how to decrease your employee stress level. Supporting connection on the job site. Right, that's super important. Employees that feel connected with other employees have much less stress. So that would be recognizing their birthdays, celebrating holidays together, doing department-specific activities, might be potlucks, it might be retreats. There are a lot of opportunities for supporting connection with each other. You'll know when you see employees who are not as engaged or connected with others, having conversations with them about that, helping them get connected with others. Perhaps you'd even have a wellness committee that focuses on that goal of supporting connection amongst employees. We all like to feel connected to each other, and when we go to work, we want to feel like this is a family-type place or a connected place. Actively support home life. Employees will say that they have less stress when their bosses support their home life. Right? So, if they have activities for school, if they have doctor appointments, when there's events that happen in their extended family, when they need to come in late, leave early, etc., that's supporting their home life. And it's more than that, it's inquiring and asking about that, getting to know that they're more than just their job performance. You're showing interest in what's happening to them outside of work. That's a priority. Other strategies to decrease employee stress: encouraging control or autonomy whenever possible. Giving employees as much control over their work environment as you can. That could be perhaps work time, work projects, proposing solutions, having committees where they make recommendations or solve problems. You're shifting the decision-making authority to employees when possible. Working from home, too, has been shown to decrease employee stress, increase productivity. It's kind of nice to work from home. Recognizing achievements, establishing a zero-tolerance policy for lateral violence. Lateral violence is disrespectful behavior on the work site, right? Nobody wants to go to work. Everybody's stressed if there's people that are acting badly on the work site. That's when EAP gets called in to do some mediation, called in to do some individual counseling or presentations on conflict management. And bosses need to stop that out very quickly. Nobody wants to feel intimidated on the work site. Being available for employees is difficult, balancing the work that you're doing as a manager with your connection with employees. Having strategies so that when you're not available, they have easy access to you. It could be through text or email or cell phone. And the last strategy I have here is about socializing with employees. And that might challenge your comfort level because it sets up a dual relationship, right? You're kind of a friend as well as a manager. But managers that socialize with their employees, and you could do it to the extent that you feel comfortable as a boss. It could be simply going out periodically for a holiday meal together. Or perhaps it's something else. One of the managers at Mercy Behavioral Health I saw was out doing crafting with some of the employees this past weekend, right? As a way to socialize with your employees outside of work while still maintaining the professional boundaries of manager role. And encouraging positive mental health in employees, that having that value. I love it when managers, CEOs, etc., actively encourage positive mental health in their employees. They'll, for example, have like a testimonial, like, hey, I've seen behavioral health before, or I've used EAP before. I encourage you to do that too. Here's how you access that. Here are some brochures for that. Talking about behavioral health services in your employee orientation or at annual benefits fairs, super helpful. And in employee health screenings, I included 4 of the 5 elements there. I guess it's 6, I count, that are correlated with bad mental health, right? And so you have to screen for these. Substance use, sleep problems, we talked about pain, depression, anxiety, marital strain, and financial problems. Those are what employees identify as contributors to their workplace stress. I just want to give a quick plug for EAPs. I don't know how many of you have EAPs as part of your organization. Great, so a little bit here, that's super. Finally, the field has started to generate some outcome information and testing the efficacy of EAPs. And what they're showing is that on various outcome variables, for absenteeism, for example, decreases by 50%. They've been doing that now for the last 3-4 years. Should have been done sooner, but this is based on EAP data internationally, taking tens of thousands of EAP companies. So it decreases absenteeism, increases work satisfaction, etc. Okay, that's what I had for you today. Thank you much. I appreciate it.
It will either get emailed or you can find it from your chamber. Our next speaker is Nancy Waspy from the Healing Center. Nancy, Reiki is a healing technique where I can channel energy through the patient by means of touch to activate the natural healing process of a patient's body and restore physical and emotional well-being. Welcome, Nancy.
And I'm a Reiki Master teacher on the highest level. So I'm just going to ask, what is Reiki? Can you see me? You might be able to see my legs. You can't see me, right? That's what Reiki is. You cannot see it. It's an unseen energy force that you can't measure it. Although with photography now, the way it is, you can actually, they've photographed the energy coming off of a Reiki practitioner's hands. So it's energy that's channeled through the Reiki practitioner to the patient or the client. So I'm going to have you guys all do a little exercise right now. I know any Reiki people in here? I know there's one back there. Okay, so remember when you were kids and you remember the old Indian burns? You could give an Indian burn to somebody. Remember that? Okay, that was energy. So I just want you to sit right now. And I want to thank Beth and Andrea and Dan, because you really teed up my presentation for me. Because everything that they talked about, Reiki can help. So I just want you right now, and we all have it, so we all are able to have this energy, even though you might not be a practitioner, you can touch on it. So just kind of sit, take a couple deep breaths, like you learned this morning. And then I want you to take your hands and put them together. And with that breath, and just really rub. What are you feeling? Warmth. Energy. Okay, so now just close your eyes for a minute. Well, wait. I'll show you what to do before you close your eyes. Yeah, you can't see through that. So I just want you to rub your hands, and then I just want you to sit, and I want you to just separate your hands a little tiny bit. And the energy between your hands. So, all right, let's do that. Ready? Close your eyes. Okay, then stop and just separate your hands a little tiny bit. And just focus on the center of your palms. Okay, let's rub them again. And then stop, separate just a little bit. And when you feel that, I want you to separate your hands a little farther apart. And then bring them back, almost like you're playing with taffy. How many of you can feel that? Good. Yeah, a little tingling. Good. This side of the room didn't feel it? Okay, good. Glad. So that's energy. Everything is energy. You have meridians, pathways, chakras that go through your system that you want to keep open. So how many electricians or know about electricity in the room? We got women that know about electricity. Okay, I love that. So if you could see the electrical wires going through the ceiling, and there was a short in the wire, the electricity would actually go around that spot and find another pathway. It's a phenomenon. Any electrician will tell you that. This hopefully it doesn't start a fire, right? The same thing can happen in our bodies. So we want that energy to keep flowing through the body, because if it doesn't, we can get a short. And what do you think happens? You get sick. Absolutely, you can get sick. Therein lies the place for disease, which it's dis-ease. The body's not at ease, it's not in balance. And so if we can keep that energy flowing through, we have healthier bodies. Nothing manifests in the physical body that doesn't first happen in the emotional, mental, spiritual body. So if I could draw a chalk line around you, you have your physical body, and then you have your emotional, mental, and spiritual. By the time it manifests to the physical body as disease or dis-ease or discomfort or anxiety or stress, which we all experience, it's just life. When it manifests there, that's when things can happen. So the key is, how do we manage the stress, the anxiety, all the things that we're just in life? And Reiki can help that. So it's basically done in a chair or on a table. The average time, I mean, you can do Reiki in 15 minutes. I get pulled in all different directions. I've done it in the back of somebody's shop in their back room, and a woman that fell in front of me on the street that was 80 years old. So you can do it anywhere. And not that you want to become a Reiki practitioner, but for your people at work and schools, I think everybody should just learn Reiki 1. If you just knew Reiki 1 and experienced it, I mean, you already saw the energy and what can happen. If you just learn level 1, your stress level, your anxiety, and how you sleep. I mean, and there's a brochure. They've proven now it's 80, 90% increases. And so that's why there's over 1,000 hospitals in the United States now that offer Reiki as a treatment. And I printed this out because this just came out. You know, the Reiki started its Eastern medicine, right? It's actually from Japan. And how many are familiar with acupuncture? Okay, so acupuncture uses needles, right? And we're kind of all aware of acupuncture because it's been around for a while. Reiki really wasn't founded until it was 1920s by Dr. Usui in Japan, and it didn't come over here until like 1937. And it wasn't until 1975, which wasn't that long ago, that it really became known by Mrs. Takata that brought it over. So it's not that old of a technique, but in World War II, when we went over and took care of Japan, the medicine, Eastern or Western medicine, went over and said, you will practice medicine like this. And so you conformed, and that's what the acupuncturists did, along with the medical industry. They conformed, but the Reiki masters all went underground. And so it wasn't until those later years that they surfaced and came out and said, no, the Reiki masters didn't all die in World War II, and it is still alive. And so it's growing and growing and growing. And so this was a study from Harvard University that just came out that reported that a single session of Reiki significantly improves pain, anxiety, depression, nausea, and fatigue. And it can help with a lot of other disorders as well. But what we're talking today about is in the workplace. So how can it affect your employees? And imagine if they could sleep better. You just saw what you need to do to sleep better, right? So if they were sleeping, and what if they had less anxiety and no stress? Or could lessen the stress, or at least be able to work with that stress. So I also printed out, there was something that I thought was interesting because everybody gets colds, right? We lose a lot of people in the workplace because of colds and flus. And there were 5 major things that they said. 3 was a good night's sleep, and 4 was reducing your stress. So out of those 5 things, besides eating right and taking supplements, Reiki can help both of those things. So you can implement it in your workplace. Reiki practitioners will certainly come in. I have a group of 5 people that I'm going downtown Chicago with this week to work with. So it's available to your people. The best thing, if you could offer a Reiki 1 class, imagine the people that might be interested to just help with their headaches, to help with their stress, everything that's going on at work. So what happens with that is then you get better attendance, right? So it increases attendance, increases positive productivity and mental clarity. I had a client that came to me. I work down at Dr. Bernadette's office a couple days a month, and she's a doctor of osteopath. And so I was treating this client that came in was so anxiety and stress and just was having trouble breathing, all kinds of things. So after about the 3rd treatment, the front desk lady said, "That is not the same woman that walked in here 6 weeks ago. Like, she's totally different." And through that process, she lost her father, which that will put anybody over the edge. And she came in and she said, I feel like I should be really feeling terrible and bad. And she goes, and I am because I lost my dad. She said, but I don't know what's going on. It's like I can handle it okay. So those are just some of the things that can help with Reiki. So it reduces stress and anxiety, more presence of mind, a clearer mind, helps with physical problems that they may be experiencing, even pain, headaches. Imagine if you had somebody that would knew Reiki 1 in Primex, and somebody got a migraine or a headache. Within 5 minutes, they could release that headache for that person because it's all the energy going through the body. So more vitality and more job satisfaction because they'll be happier. And what does it take to bring it into your business? Just wanting to do that. You have to have a space like you guys talked about. You have a space for maybe your massage therapist or whatever, someplace that's quiet. It can just be a chair or a table. You can offer it to your staff, as there's a lot of different programs, as you guys said. You can do a 50-50 deal with them. Maybe pay for it once a month or once a quarter to bring somebody in to help. Maybe bring somebody in to teach. I'd be happy to come in and teach Reiki 1. It's a fun experience, and they use it not only for work, but they'll use it in their homes and with their kids and with their families. So that's really what Reiki is. You can't see it, but it's an unseen energy, and the results are amazing. Just one treatment. If you haven't had it, you should try it. You'll want to bring it in for all of your clients and or your staff. And any questions? We need your card. I got a card. Absolutely, absolutely. So, well, thank you for letting me introduce you to Reiki and what it is. And just so you know, it's not a religion. It's not a massage. People say, oh, it's that cult, it's that religion. No, it's not. It's just energy, and we're all energy. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Our final speaker today is Tassaf Aman from the Regional Director of Senator Ron Johnson. Tassaf handles a statewide casework in the area of Medicare, Medicaid, and telecommunications, and works closely with the federal agencies such as the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the Federal Communication to resolve issues. Tossup is going to give us an update on the perspective from the state on the mental health.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. I appreciate the invitation to speak at this event. And my name is Tossup Anam. I've been in Senator Johnson's office since 2014, serving as his regional director in southern Wisconsin. But a big part of my job is to serve as the point of contact in Senator Johnson's office for any and all healthcare issues in the areas of Medicare, Medicaid, senior citizens problems, people with disabilities, just helping them. So we have 3 offices in the state, one in Oshkosh, one in Milwaukee, one in Madison, and so any issues in this area of healthcare from anywhere in the state, I'm the point of contact who works on those. Now, Senator Johnson has a mission for his office, for his staff, and that mission is to help people. To help people. And so every action that we perform as staff is aimed at fulfilling that mission. Now, our jurisdiction is at the federal level, so when people come to us with issues pertaining to federal agencies, we try to help them. It could be an IRS issue, it could be a Social Security issue, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Department of State, and FEMA, so on and so forth. Now, I work closely with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, particularly the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And what that means is when people come to us, a senior citizen, and says, well, I have a sleep issue and I need a CPAP machine. We talked about sleep earlier. Medicare, they may get a response from Medicare that says, we are not going to cover your CPAP machine, and it's expensive to buy it out of pocket. If the constituent doesn't agree with that decision, they can come to us, and I can, on behalf of Senator Johnson, send a letter to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and say, constituent such and such came to us with a concern. He or she feels that it's a wrong denial, so we request a fair review of the constituent's case file, and please send us a response as to why this benefit, this durable medical equipment is being denied. Now, we cannot bend laws, we cannot change rules, but we ask for a fair review. And so whenever there's a congressional interest on a case, it gets looked at by people who are specifically working in those agencies to respond to congressional inquiries. So they can come back to us, the CMS in short, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, can come back to us and say, sorry, somebody made a mistake, this is covered, we're going to cover it, and it's a happy ending. Or they can come back and say, well, it's not going to be covered, and here's why. At least at that point, the constituent knows the answer, because a lot of times people reach out to us because they are getting conflicting information from different sources. Their doctors are telling them, oh, you're going to be fine, this is going to be covered. Maybe somebody else, maybe when they call 1-800-MEDICARE, they're getting different information. Their friend is telling them something else. Their ADRC specialist is the Aging and Disability Resource Center specialist giving them some information. And they are confused. They just don't know which one is accurate. We can help provide the most accurate information in a timely fashion. Now, I'm very passionate about healthcare, not because it's my official responsibility to work on healthcare issues, but even as an individual, I'm just very passionate about healthcare issues. So I can talk for a long time, but for the purposes of today's event, I'll talk about 3 things. Number 1, the demographic shift, the aging population that we have. Number 2, I'll talk about substance abuse. And number 3, I'll talk about vaping and e-cigarettes. Now the first one, One of the greatest challenges we face in this country is the aging population. The effects of an aging population go well beyond the healthcare sector. For example, we see a shortage of workers as baby boomers retire, and a lot of institutional knowledge is being lost as senior citizens leave the workforce. Now in the future, there will be more people collecting Social Security benefits, collecting Medicare benefits, and one of the big concerns is whether there will be enough people in the workforce paying for these benefits. So there's a fear that there'll be a mismatch. Now, in my role, I interact with many senior citizens facing Medicare and Medicaid issues. And one trend that I have noticed is a caregiver of some sort is involved in helping senior citizens. So while it may be a Medicare beneficiary who's contacting us and has a concern, that person may have memory issues or may not be the best at receiving and sending emails or understanding the official communication that we're sending to them. And so a lot of senior citizens need help, whether it's from a son or a daughter, a younger sibling, a compassionate neighbor. There's some sort of caregiver involved in helping senior citizens. Now, this is where it gets interesting because an individual who's helping a senior citizen, parent, or an older sibling, has to take time away from their personal life, from their ability to work, and help the senior member. So I'm often on the phone with individuals who say, well, I'm trying to help my mom, she's getting denials from Medicare for this issue, or my mom is in a nursing home and has this problem. Can Senator Johnson's office help? Because I'm struggling. She lives an hour away, so I have to work all day, or I have 2 different jobs. And then after I'm done with working, I have to travel an hour, check on my mother, make sure everything's okay, and then come back home. And that's very stressful, and we talked about stress earlier. That's very stressful for a lot of people. And so caregivers do play an important role, but it's also about making sure that they receive the help that they need in order to help the person that they're caring for. So in Senator Johnson's office, our mission, as I said, is to help people, and we focus highly on constituent services. So when people are contacting us about issues, we do the best we can to help them. And because our jurisdiction is at the federal level, if it's a state issue that we cannot work on, then we try to get them connected to the resources, whether it's the county Aging and Disability Resource Center, or it's a senior center, or if it's the Wisconsin Department of Health Services for a Medicaid issue. We try to make sure that we guide them to places where there will be resources for them to get the help. Our focus at the end of the day is making sure that we're responding timely and in an accurate way. The second thing I want to talk about is substance abuse. We know it's a crisis, it's an epidemic, the opiate epidemic. How many of you have heard about fentanyl? A lot of people. So fentanyl is a Schedule II controlled substance that is used to treat cancer patients. But by modifying one small piece of the chemical structure of fentanyl, a new chemical compound called analog is created. And these analogs are contributing to alarming rates of overdoses. So what's being done about it? Senator Johnson introduced legislation this year. It's called Stopping Overdoses of Fentanyl Analogs Act. It's known as, in short, SOFA Act. What the SOFA Act would do is it would close a loophole in current law by immediately scheduling particular fentanyl analogs known in our communities under Schedule 1 and it would provide the Drug Enforcement Agency, also known as DEA, additional tools to quickly schedule other dangerous fentanyl analogs as they are identified. Now, this legislation was first introduced in 2017, and in 2018, the National Association of Attorneys General sent a letter to the United States Senate and House leadership expressing that the Attorneys General of all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico support the SOFA Act and encouraged its swift passage. Now, we know Washington can be slow. My boss would often say it's dysfunctional. So a lot of great ideas can sit for a while before they are approved, they go through the process and become law. Unfortunately, when it was first introduced, it did not become law. So it had to be reintroduced this year. And so in the future, hopefully in the near future, we will learn what the outcome is, whether it becomes law or not. But this is something Senator Johnson is working on. And SOFA, as I mentioned, it stands for Stopping Overdoses of Fentanyl Analogs. But SOFA is also the same acronym as an organization that was started by Lori Badura of Oconomowoc. Now, Lori lost her son Archie to an overdose in 2014. And since then, she has worked to raise awareness throughout Wisconsin on the dangers of drug addiction. So for her organization, SOFA stands for Saving Others for Archie. Last year, for the State of the Union address, Senator Johnson's guest was Lori Badura. So she accompanied the senator for the President's State of the Union address last year. And we hear from people all over the state as we're traveling, their personal struggles with opiate and how people see their families or friends or loved ones struggle. And so we understand it's an epidemic, and there's a lot that can be done. And so it's on Senator Johnson's list. He's working on doing what he can. So, you know, afterwards, I'd be happy to talk more about it. The third item I want to talk about is e-cigarettes and vaping. It's been in the news a lot recently. Also recently, there was a report that the Trump administration may place restrictions on the sale of e-cigarette flavors. Now, Senator Johnson is very concerned about children vaping, but he also thinks that the industry has he thinks that the industry has a lot to atone for in terms of what they have done to attract youth. However, he has concerns about the reports of the possible restrictions, and here's why. If the administration places restrictions on e-cigarette flavors, it could lead to significant economic harm in the form of businesses closing and subsequent job losses. Moreover, it could lead to significant harm to Americans' health because of the inability to access products that help smokers quit. And it could reduce the number of those who are able to stop smoking and lead former smokers to resume the dangerous habit. So a lot of people use vaping as a way to stop smoking. Now, Senator Johnson is supportive of regulations that ensure the safety of consumer products and common sense efforts to prevent youth from accessing e-cigarettes. But he's opposed to the far-reaching, unchecked government actions that could stifle innovation and restrict adults' freedom to choose safer alternatives to smoking. And so the president made a decision to not go forward with the restrictions, and Senator Johnson expressed that he appreciates President Trump's dedication to prevent youth from vaping and ensuring safe vaping products for adults to help them quit smoking. and he was glad that President Trump took the time to strike the right balance to accomplish those worthy goals. That's where I'll end today. As a congressional office, we want to make sure that we are very much accessible, and so if you ask the chambers, you'll know that I go to a lot of business after hours, I'm at their events, making sure that we're not seen as a congressional office in a building, staffers working in a building, but we are out and about in various communities, making sure that we're accessible. I'm happy to hand out my business cards. It has my cell phone number on it, so I want to be very, very accessible to all of you. And we do whatever we can to make sure that we're providing the best constituent services. Also, I want to highlight that in addition to all the events that we go to in response to invitations or proactively when we set up events, in addition to Senator Johnson's listening session, our staff does mobile office hours throughout Wisconsin. This is when we set up sort of like a listening session. It's no RSVP required. People can come in and express their opinions, ask for assistance, usually in a public building, a village hall, city council building, a public library. We have done more than 1,300 of these mobile office hours throughout Wisconsin. As a matter of fact, at 1 o'clock this afternoon, I will be in Beloit at the Senior Center doing a mobile office hour for constituents. And the reason for that is we're now in the Medicare open enrollment season. And so I'm trying to make sure that our office is available at senior centers across southern Wisconsin so that seniors can come, and if they have questions, we can help answer those. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention. And I'm happy to answer questions afterwards. Thank you so much.
All right, that's a wrap up of our speakers today, but we do have to give a little shout out to our friends Mary and Ruth from Mercy Health, who've been doing some blood pressure screening. Sandy Wolf over here in the corner from the cognizant of everybody's busy schedules, as we all talked about. I believe Beth, Andrea, Dan, Nancy, and Tossup will all be here for additional questions for a few minutes. So if you have any, please reach out. But otherwise, thank you for attending what we call, as in our chamber world, our 3 driving features that we are doing quarterly. And thank you, and have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm Chris Clapper, the Executive Director of the Elkhorn Chamber. I'm going to take a few minutes and do the introductions of who helped put this together. We also have Sarah Sakaris from the Delavan Chamber. Sarah, good morning. Good morning. Come visit Lake Geneva. And I saw Jenny Quill from the Whitewater Chamber. All right, welcome, Jenny. And we also have Derek Dioria from Wceda. And is Vanessa here yet? Vanessa Lenz from the East Troy Chamber? I think she must be. She has children, so kind of getting here a little early is tough. And Sherry Sedicati from Geneva Lake West had an appointment, but I think will be joining us shortly. Again, thank you for joining us today. We are going to start out this morning with Kelsey Woodell from Geneva Fitness, who is going to get us in some stretches that can be done at your desk or at your workplace. So I'm going to have Kelsey come on up because they can be done as we're at our table. Come on, you guys. We all sound like we're still sleeping. Come on, let's go.
I'm Kelsey. I do all the personal training, some of the classes down in our wellness center. I deal with a lot of people that are retired now and have some postural issues. So let's all sit up nice and tall. Thank you. All right. So how many hours at a time do you guys sit at your desk on average? Too many. So I know it's a lot to ask for, but like every hour you should like get up, move around, and it's a lot to ask for. 4, I know. But it's very important because you got to get the blood flow moving, and a lot of people get tight hip flexors, we get tight lower backs, your neck starts to hurt, you get carpal tunnel, all that stuff. So while we're sitting here, we're just going to work on our breathing. So I want you to sit nice and tall. Don't even think about what you look like. Who cares what you look like, okay? You can close your eyes, keep them open, whatever you want. So we're going to take a nice deep breath in through our nose, about 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I stopped at like 2. And exhale through your mouth slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to do that 3 more times with the breath of 4. You ready? In. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Nice and steady. Ready? Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4. Keep going on your own. If 4 seems like, that's okay, I'm good with 4. Stick with the 4 count. If you can really push it, if you're like, I got more, I can give more, go 5 to 6 counts. 5 to 6 counts. Really breathe in, fill your belly with air. It's like a pitcher. Filling a glass, you fill the bottom first, then it slowly rises. And then the exact opposite when you dump it out, top to bottom. Okay? Think of that mental picture. Okay, fill it up. Slowly rises, 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 rises. And then exhale. You're using those belly muscles, right? Okay, how's everybody feel now? Awesome, awesome. Does everybody see me okay? I'm like kind of just like chilling in front of this table. Okay, so we're going to start with some shoulder rolls. Breathe in, up, exhale, back. A little grinding in those shoulders, right? Feels awesome. 3 more. 3. It's okay. Who cares what you look like, right? 2. 1 more. Good. Okay. Awkward. Feeling. Who goes the backward to forward? Nobody. Okay. 2 more. 2. And 1. Okay. I know you're kind of limited on space, but we really need to get those arms up, okay? So inhale, raise those arms up. Okay. I want your shoulders to come up, shoulders to come down. Keeping those arms straight. Shoulders to come up, shoulders come up. Harder than you think, right? A little awkward, especially with the dress coat on, or dress coat, suit coat and all that stuff, right? Up, 1 more, and down. Okay, I want you to go wide for just a minute. Open. Oh, yes. Let it in. Hit somebody next to you. Just kidding. Don't hit somebody. All right. Relax. Take it out. Take it out. Okay. So that was, we're going to do our neck next. So if anybody has like vertigo, dizziness, anything like that, just be aware. Okay. Breathe through the movements. You can keep your eyes open, keep them closed, whatever works for you. Okay. So we're going to work on just nodding our head all the way back.
Always yes.
Always yes. And back. Forward and back. Okay. Now we're going to shake our head no, but not too fast. I don't want you to shake your head and raise your shoulder. Shake your head. That's it. Shake your head. Nice and slow. You're scanning the room. Okay, now where it gets fun. You're going to take your right ear, I'm opposite of you, left ear to left shoulder without raising your shoulder. Let it hang here, okay? Just hanging out. Relax your right shoulder. Good. If you need more here, put your right hand behind your back. Gets a little bit extra pull. So you never really want to yank on your neck. That's not a good thing. If you need more, just apply a little bit of pressure. But obviously don't if you have neck issues. Inhale, rise. Nice and easy. So 10 to 20 seconds minimum. 30 seconds to 40 second maximum. Okay, you don't want to do for more than a minute because you kind of mess things up that you don't need to mess up structurally. Right ear, right shoulder. Let it hang. Chill. Breathe in. Where's our posture? Thank you. Left hand behind the back. Just a little extra pull here. Good. Breathe in deep. Close your eyes if you want to. See some people struggling, they're like up in here, relax, it's all good. Okay, chill. All right, now we get a little bit into the deeper structures. Again, if you have vertigo, dizziness, don't follow along or limit what you can do, okay? So we're gonna go over to the left shoulder again. You're gonna bring your chin to your clavicle. If you don't know what that is, it's that little bone that sticks out in your chest, but don't hunch. So shoulder, and now we're just going to rotate down a little bit. We're getting the right side of our neck. You feel it over there? Bring your right hand behind your head, behind your back again. Get a little deeper stretch. So opposite side what your head's going to. Good. Okay, we're going to go back to the shoulder. Keep, same side, back to the shoulder. Now we're just going to keep our jaw closed, and you're going to roll it back. We're getting all of this up in here. Yep. We're going to roll back and forth. So you feel that all in the front of your neck, maybe down to the chest muscles, maybe not. If you have limited range of motion here, you know what you need to work on, right? All right. 2 slow rotations clockwise, then 2 slow counterclockwise, okay? Go at your own pace. You're going to look down first. Inhale, over, behind, and back. Back over. One more time. Again, going at your own pace. You don't have to follow my lead here. Make sure you're breathing. No tension in your shoulders or your face. Okay. All the way around. One more time. Good breathing. And neutral position. Good job. Okay, a little dizziness. You guys okay? Who does that on a regular basis? You should. It's awkward. It's not what you normally would do. But we're going to stick our chest out, stick our belly out, and then we're going to smoosh it into the chair back. Okay? Breathe in. So if you were in yoga class, this would be a cow-cat pose. Cow, big belly. Cat, big spine, right? Okay, make it bigger, make it bigger. Roll those shoulders back, open, 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 open. I know you look silly. Get over it. And round it. Own every movement you do. Own it. Stare that person down in the gym if you're feeling awkward. Just stare them down. All right, neutral. Let's kind of just shake it out. All right. So I do have one where you need to stand up. So let's go ahead. If you have high heel shoes on, just be mindful. You're going to be tipping forward. Just go where you can go. You kind of need some space here. So maybe half the room do it, the other half not do it, or at your table don't bump into each other, sort of thing. Okay, this is what you're going to do. Don't do it yet. Follow. Wait till I do it. Inhale, rise. Exhale, we're going to fall forward. Your hips go backwards. You're doing it super slow. So you want to do this over your chair. Okay? So you can have your hands on your chair and you're just like, or hanging, whatever you want. Okay? So find a space. Reach. Exhale, slowly fold at the waist. Hips go back. Knees are soft. Hang out here. We're just going to hang. Looking through your legs. If you have a lot of pressure in your head, feel free to come up. Still hanging here. You guys are doing great. Now, knees are soft. We're going to inhale slowly, and we're going to roll up like a cat. Nice and slow. Inhale, 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 inhale. Looking up. Exhale, shoulders down. Yes, that felt so good. Now, you should at least do that 3 more times, but I won't make you do that today. Okay? Go ahead and take a seat. That kind of got the blood flowing back to the legs a little bit. One more stretch for you guys, and I'll be out of your hair, okay? Well, I lied. There's always one more. There's always one more. There's always one more. So we're gonna, if you guys can do this, I want you to put your left ankle on your knee. If you jeans, dress pants, or dresses, a little restricting. Good. We're just gonna kind of hang out here. You feel some tightness in that hip? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Take your hand, put it on your knee. You can press. Now that's kind of not effective if you're going to use your neck. So what I do is I take my elbow and I just kind of lean into my leg. So you're leaning forward, you're getting a good glute stretch, you're getting a good hip opener right here. Feel it in the hip socket, or do you feel it in the back of the butt? It's kind of wherever you're tight, that's where you're going to feel it the most. Hang out here. 2, 1, come up. Switch legs. Nice and easy. Now, some people have limited range of motion here. You can't do it. That's okay. There's a bunch of other stretches I can show you, but we don't have an hour. So, let's just, we got a couple more minutes. So, elbow, kind of lean forward. One side's always going to be tighter than the other. When you're sitting at your desk, try not to cross your legs, because you're always going to be shifted that way. We all have our favorite side that we use, right? That side's always going to be, higher. Always going to be tighter. Always going to give you some grief. So just make sure you try to sit. It's not very ladylike, but you want to sit hip width apart, nice and tall. Standing, you want to stand hip width apart. Again, not ladylike. We don't want to have our feet, having our feet together. That's so nice. Hip width apart all the time. Okay? All right, relax. We're going to go up on our toes, back on our heels. Up on our toes. So you want to get the blood flowing all the way up. Okay? All the way up. So heels, toes. Heels, toes. I feel like I don't really want to stand up. I feel so nice sitting down. I'm so tired. I'm just going to sit here and slouch and be happy. Okay. Good posture is key. Start from the top down. Once you move your neck, like, yes, I feel so good, Breathing deep. Getting the oxygen into your body. That's what helps you move. It helps you have good posture. Okay? If you have any questions for anything, any other stretches I missed that you feel like, I need this. Good? All right. You all have a great,
Would you mind repeating the stretches so I can write them down?
yeah. I'm gonna write that down. Okay, so we're going to do breathing first. So breathing 4 to 6 counts. Then we worked on shoulder rotations. That's really fast. Anybody want to do a voice memo? Just kidding. That's copyright. Shoulder rotations back, forward, and backwards. And then we reached up. Reach up. You guys can follow along if you don't feel like you have to sit there and stare at me. It's awkward. Up and down. Then we did our neck stretches. So you kind of want to do shoulder to shoulder, 20 to 30 seconds. I'm just going to hang out here and say, be awkward. Then you did chin to chest, chin to clavicle. And then you rotate it up, did backwards. So your skull goes to the back of your shoulder. I should just write these up and email to you. That's what I really should do. Who would I email? Nobody?
We'll get to that information.
Oh, hey.
How's that?
How about that? How about I don't want to take any more of your time because that's a lot.
Didn't mean to be speaking from the back of the room, but we will be including some of our speakers' presentations, their PowerPoints, or their contact information. So we will get the morning exercises from Kayla and include that with what we send out. If by chance we didn't have you pre-registered, please know that that information will be on Wceda's website shortly after, and each chamber will send it out also. So you will be able to get that information. All right, I'll really use the mic for this one. So to start off our presenters, our first speaker today is Beth Luther from the Primex family of companies. And oh boy, lots of initials here. The PFOC places a high importance on employee wellness. They provide their employees with a variety of wellness challenges, offerings, discounts, and education throughout the year. This includes on-site massage therapy, chiropractic care, and wellness coaching. Let's give a warm welcome to Beth Luther.
People that keep this program alive and going day to day. I'm more of the strategic, put it together, look at the return on investment, look at the claims experience, those types of things. They're the ones that do the day to day. I also want to credit, we use numerous outside vendors to help us pull this off. We use a company named Core Wellness, not sure if you're familiar with it, but they're the ones that provide our on-site chiropractors and yoga instructor, nutritionist, those three things. And then our insurance broker, which is Assurance Agency, they have a very robust wellness department that helps us. WellRight, which is the portal that we use. We just switched last year. We have several massage therapists, yoga instructors, and we use a company out of Madison called SoundShift that does a sound bowl. Kind of like a meditation thing with a sound bowl. So just a little bit about Primex. The company's been in existence for about 40 plus years. Some of you may know it as Clockit. We only have about 150 employees. Most of them are in Lake Geneva. 50 of them are remote, I would say. The product line is the Internet of Things, so time, temperature, weather devices that are connected. so I won't get into a lot of detail about the product line, but the point of that is we have employees ranging from warehouse employees all the way through high level like programmers and developers. So we try to program our wellness program so it reaches people even if they're at home. So the program that we have, it's been around for over 10 years, and it's kind of evolved over the course of the 10 years. It started out much more simple. They started with the biometric screenings, the blood draws. We've been doing those for over 10 years. And that's how we get a lot of our data. That is how we measure how well we're doing. We've had great success with that program because we've been able to help employees detect many illnesses and things or prevent them from happening. At first, I think 10 years ago when they first started doing the biometric screening, some employees were kind of like, this is invasive, why are you doing this? But as it's evolved, employees now look forward to it. And we've been doing it for so long, and we give them a really detailed report back so they can see exactly what all their risk factors are. It's color coded, so if there's something they need to be worried about, it shows up in red. And the neat thing about this is our on-site nutritionists work with them to help them like address any issues that are identified with the blood draw. So the blood draw is really like the foundation of the whole thing. All the additional things we do kind of tie into what we're trying to do with our culture. We're really trying to live our value of work-life balance. And our people work really hard, so we try to offer a lot of things on site to meet them where they are every day if they're at the office. And if they're working from home, we try to do things to meet them there. So we do tons of things on site, such as one day a week we do massages, either 20-minute chair massages or full body. The company subsidizes the cost of that, but the employee does have to pay something for that. On-site chiropractic 2 days a week, which we find extremely beneficial. The chiropractors and the nutritionists also go throughout our building throughout the day on Wednesdays. And they do stretching like Kelsey just did with us. So they'll go to each department, and whoever wants to participate, everybody for maybe 5 or 10 minutes does stretching like we just did. More of it is standing, but it kind of helps people, as they're going through their day, just giving that little boost and loosen things up. And we also try to do standing desks. We encourage people to get up and walk around once an hour, like Kelsey suggested. It really does work. We gave everyone a Fitbit, or we had a program where they can purchase it at a reduced price. So counting steps is a big thing for us. We do a lot of walking challenges. We try to encourage people to get 10,000 steps a day. So that's also a big part of our culture. So Jess, do you want to help walk them through the handout at all, or do you think? Sure. Share her expertise on all this stuff.
So we actually have like a point system that all of our employees follow throughout the year, and everything is tied back. So it's on the back page. And this is through our wellness portal. And so at the end of the year, if you meet certain goals throughout the year, you get money put into your HSA, and you also get a reduced rate for your health insurance. Everything.
Well, we divide it up into the 3 categories: the mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, and that's how the points are structured throughout the year. So you can get points for taking part in mind, things that fulfill your mind, the body aspect, and then also your spirit aspect. So everything kind of ties back, and it's all done again through our wellness portal. And you can take, if you look at the point structure, we have what's called age gauge, and this is kind of like a health risk assessment. So it goes through and asks you a ton of questions, and at the end it gives you a score. And it tells you how old you really are, in health-wise. And then we have our biometric screening. as long as you're tobacco free, you'll also get additional points as well. So it encourages, we actually did a smoking cessation this year and we got quite a few people to quit smoking. So that was huge for us. I think we had 4 that quit smoking. And then we have our annual challenges as well. So we have like a step up, a walking challenge. If you get, we try to get 10,000 steps a day and we encourage teamwork, so we get in teams of 4. We have core events, so we have lunch and learns that people can participate in that our core wellness team puts on. So anything from benefits of yoga, benefits of chiropractic, eating healthy. Then we have the yoga and meditation and massage. You can get points for that. Just taking advantage of your preventative exams. Local activities. So if you do a walk, like we're big into the Alzheimer's Association. So if you participate in the Alzheimer's walk, you get points for that. And then they have a lot of online challenges through the wellness portal that you can take advantage of as well. And again, this all ties back into our health insurance. So if you reach 1,000 points throughout the year, you get 150 put into your HSA account and you get a reduced rate, and you can earn up to 3,000 points with $500 on being put into your HSA. So.
Thank you. So just a couple other things that some of you might want to know. When this program was first started at the company, it was before I was there, before any of us were there actually, and they used more of a stick approach, more of a punishment approach, so they punished people if they didn't participate. So after we started, we kind of flipped it and we tried to do more of a carrot approach, thinking that rewarding people would drive more participation in the program. And it's actually been extremely successful, and the people that didn't want to participate before kind of changed their mind after we started doing it more as a reward. So it really is tied to our health insurance program with the health savings accounts and the money that we deposit into those accounts. If employees don't carry our insurance, they're still eligible to participate, and they get a gift card in lieu of the HSA deposit. Some of the other things that we measure, we're self-insured, and one of the things we look at is our claims experience, obviously, as I'm sure many of you are involved in this in your companies. And the statistics have shown consistently over the years an improvement in the claims experience. The thing that companies get hung up on, I think, and we have too a little bit, is a very small percentage of our people have chronic illnesses or things that any kind of wellness program we have isn't going to address. Whether it's cancer, MS, they're just things that no matter how robust your wellness program is, people are going to be ill and it's going to increase those claims. And so if you look at our total claims, they sometimes go up in certain years just because people get sick. But if you pull those people out of the claims pool, overall our people are statistically healthier year over year. And then the other thing that we have done over the last several years is the 3 outside agencies that we use pool together, and they analyze the data that we're all accumulating. So they look at the blood draw data, and the reason we don't get involved is because of HIPAA laws, and we don't want to know. We don't want to get involved in people's personal illnesses and things. But they're third party, so they actually can do coaching and counseling and talk to people about it. And we have a lot of people who participate in that. So one of our metrics was we had a lot of people a few years ago who were pre-diabetic, and that was based on the blood draw. And so our on-site nutritionists and chiropractors started working directly with those people. And the last time we did our blood draw, that number had gone down significantly. So people were able to address it without medication and without anything drastic. They were able to do it with diet and exercise and that type of thing. So sometimes it's just education. People aren't aware that what they're eating is contributing to a condition they might have. So, we're small, so it's maybe easier for us to reach more people. I have worked for larger organizations and have done wellness programs there as well, though, and have had similar success. So I think it just depends on how you scale it, how you introduce it, the philosophy you use, if you use, a carrot or a stick, the rewards you put in place, and then measuring it to make sure it's paying off for the company and there's a return on investment. So that's about all I had, I think. There's probably more I could say because I'm really passionate about this topic. Yeah.
What's your participation rate? I know in other companies I work for, it's very hard to get people to participate in the wellness program. And sometimes even leadership doesn't buy into it.
Yeah, surprisingly high. I would say 75% of our people at least. And they, probably half of our employees have to pay for some of this, like they have to pay for the chiropractic. We subsidize it, but there's 50 people at least at a minimum that participate in that. So with 150 employees, that's pretty good. And we do a ton of educating, so that helps. Yeah.
Well, we're going to do some question and answers at the end, so we'll do those. But let's give Beth a big round. And Beth, I'm going to just ask one question. I'm going to go against my own rules. When you say a small company, did I hear you say?
150.
150. So many of you in the room that might apply for, or maybe it doesn't. But again, we will have that contact information that we can pass on. And I'm sure that Jessica and Beth would be not opposed to taking a couple of questions because they've been great sounding boards for us in this organization with different things that we've brought to our partners and members. Is Andrea Capier of Aurora Healthcare. She's a sleep specialist. Welcome, Andrea.
Here, I am from the Aurora Lakeland Sleep Disorder Center at Lakeland Hospital, just up the street here. I am the lead technician there. I'm also a sleep educator. So I actually went to school to talk about sleep. I am very passionate about sleep, so I will really try to keep this around 15 minutes because I could honestly talk all day. So I always like to start my talks a little bit about, I like to ask some questions, some true or false questions about sleep to kind of see what you guys know about sleep, and we'll go from there. Adult needs less sleep as they grow older. False. That is correct. How about half of your sleeping hours are spent dreaming? False. That is correct. About 25% of the average adult sleep should be spent dreaming. We call that REM and non-REM sleep. So about 25% of your sleep should be spent dreaming. Which of the following is the most common cause of nightmares? Eating before bed, excessive alcohol, stress and anxiety, or illness with fever? Stress. It's actually excessive alcohol. Oh. So oftentimes if you drink too much alcohol, you'll find that you have bad dreams. Okay. Disorders and chronic sleep loss have been linked to heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, or all of the above? All of the above. Absolutely, all of the above. And true or false, insomnia is considered chronic when a person has difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep at least 2 nights a week for a month or longer.
True.
That is true. Chronic insomnia absolutely is when you have trouble falling asleep at least 2 nights a week for a month or longer. True or false, driving while drowsy is similar to driving while intoxicated.
True.
Absolutely. To be a drowsy driver is actually equivalent to blowing a .08. And oftentimes the field sobriety test that they give you as when you would blow a .08 is the exact same. Your body's ability to perform those is fall a few hours behind in the amount of sleep your body needs, you can never make it up. True. It's what we call sleep debt. You carry that sleep debt with you always. So if you say, I'm going to short myself sleep tonight, but tomorrow I can make it up, you really can't. It's a nice thought, but yeah, that never really happens. Not getting enough sleep can lead to weight gain. True or false? True. Absolutely. When you are not sleeping enough and you're not going through those non-REM, REM stages,